You're listening to the Microsoft Innovation Podcast, where we explore the intersection of people, business, and technology. This year, we're adding a new show to our lineup, The AI Advantage, to help you learn the skills you need to thrive in the AI era.
Welcome to the MVP Show. My intention is that you listen to the stories of these MVP guests and are inspired to become an MVP and bring value to the world through your skills. If you have not checked it out already, I do a YouTube series called How to Become an MVP. The link is in the show notes. With that, let's get on with the show. Today's guest joins us from the vibrant Munich in Germany. He's a cloud architect and he specializes in modern work solutions. He's been a Microsoft MVP since 2024. He's deeply involved in Copilot since its inception, bringing real-world expertise to countless organizations through engaging workshops. He's also an active international speaker, an instructor for Microsoft 365 services, and hosts a popular podcast dedicated to helping the community build their ideal digital workplace. You can find all the links to his bio and socials, as well as a link to his podcast in the show notes for this episode. Welcome to the show, Daniel.
Hello, Mark. Thanks for having me. It's great to be here, to be honest. I think it's my first appearance ever on an, I would say, international podcast.
Wow. The thing is, so your podcast is all in German, right?
Yeah. Currently, to be honest, I'm really working on it. I'm really trying get my fingers around Azure AI speech service to maybe do it at least automatically in 2 or even more languages, because the community is large. And sometimes I feel like I need to do everything in English, but then you're a little bit more comfortable in your home language, which for me is German. But yeah, it's so a fast changing world. And, I want to share all this information, all these things that we do in the community that I do with the customers. And sometimes I feel like, I need to split myself to make everything bilingual to get more people involved.
But the thing is, the German market's a big market.
Yeah, quite. So we have Germany, Austria, and also Switzerland, where we, especially in Switzerland, see a lot of large companies have their larger departments there, and their home departments in Switzerland. And yeah, mostly decisions are being made there. And I think when dealing, for example, with Swiss customers, we speak more English than German or Swiss German even, yeah.
So when you're not doing IT stuff, tell me about food, family, and fun. What do you do when you're not kind of working?
So, yeah, basically, I'm I would say, enthusiastic musician, playing a little bit of guitar and piano. We have a wedding band that we usually fill our Saturdays with these activities. And otherwise, yeah, I often have a nice company in my home with my 2 cats and my girlfriend. So yeah, that's, I would say, more or less the basic stuff, and everything else is mainly, besides music and my cats, I would say Microsoft 365 ish, at least.
I have 2 cats as well.
Oh, well, that's nice.
I'm very interested in your journey through Copilot. Tell me a bit about why you got involved from the get-go, and what's been your experience over the last 2 to 3 years?
Oh, wow, yeah. So you're definitely not starting with the small questions here. Let's definitely just get right through the point. Well, yeah. So my previous employer was always very, I would say, good connected with Microsoft. Of course, we got our hands a little bit earlier, or I would say at the earliest time possible for a Europe-based Microsoft partner in November 2023, I think it was. Yeah, should be. Yeah. And well, from there, I was always, so I was a project manager who thought that Microsoft 365 is a great platform to do project management, to do self-management, to do, I really got to do a lot of with Microsoft To Do, Planner, lists, SharePoint, and those stuff. So I was always more on the, I would say, modern work guy, not the security or Intune guys. Or I was always like on the collab side of things. So of course, Copilot was like a very welcome new thing for me, especially in Germany. The Viva thing that was the hype before Copilot was not that successful. Yeah, so I was quite happy to get a new friend to play with. Yeah, so of course I started, and you quickly realized, wow, that's a little bit of a different thing here. And customers get interested. We were really getting our hands on the first features. We were delivering the first workshops in Germany. I always remember the time when we said, okay, guys, we need to do our Copilot workshops here in the mornings, because as soon as we hit 1:00, US wakes up and also tries out the technology. So in the early days, we get some, stumbling with the servers and feedback loops and waiting on answers like forever. So yeah, that's where it started. And from there on, I just stayed on the topic. I also then directly became an MVP a few months after, because I just needed to do so much educational stuff. I was requested as somebody who just was in a lucky position to get their hands on the early tech, and I was speaking at conferences about those tools. And from there on, I think it just never stopped. Yeah, so basically from the moment I opened Copilot the first time, it felt a little bit like a dream, and I got pushed in those communities, and I got more and more involved, and it was a very incredible journey since then. And that was a little bit, where I come from, basically.
Yeah, this is good. Tell me, in running a typical workshop on Copilot, where I assume you'll have people that come in that this is the first time they're hearing about Copilot, then you might have some that are maybe intermediate, some advanced. How do you run, kind of step me through what the routine of a Copilot workshop is for you?
Yeah, well, of course, at first, as you said, it depends who is sitting in front of you. Yeah. So, but usually when we have like a first touch with a customer, the thing that we have people involved that have no idea about the topic, that's quite rare at these days. Yeah. A year ago, yes, but right now, we have not the case that they're not aware of the topic, but we have the case that they have, I would say, wrong expectations, of course, or they have pre-assumptions that they have made based on what they maybe have seen 2 seconds in a video on a LinkedIn post or something, what they have in mind. So the first thing is, I don't ask them only, hey, what's your name? What's your job? How important do you think you are in your company? I ask them, what do you think about Copilot? And get those, I really try to listen carefully what they're telling me and what they are thinking. And I don't especially point it out, but while I'm doing the rest of the workshop, I really try to correct those pre-assumptions if they're wrong, of course, or I try to go a little bit more into that detail so I can really fulfill the people. And yeah, of course, then we usually start with a little bit of, I would say, housekeeping and legal stuff. So people know, hey, what we're talking there is about the solution that is really well up to date, but we are always, for example, hanging on what OpenAI is doing in terms of technology-wise. But the difference is Microsoft is doing that in a secure way, and they will give you the opportunity to implement an AI solution that is completely, or it is the most possible way of implementing an AI solution that is regulatory okay, that is held in your company, regulations and all that stuff. Yeah, so that's where we usually try to push away those, I would say, legal boundaries, or a little bit of that wrong expectations or problems that I think they're facing. And yeah, from there on, we try to see a little bit in what vertical they are, what is the company doing, what I think there are use cases. Of course, we have some typical use cases we see across the world when we have like HR, marketing, legal stuff. Those, I would say, typical personas or typical job descriptions. Then I try to get a mix of show them the nice latest features. Yeah, like what is coming up probably. Maybe in the next workshops, as soon as we ship the Wave 2 Spring update in Copilot, we will probably do some action figures or action packs of the people involved. And for now, we are just doing, the things that we can do with Copilot. I show some technical stuff like Python and coding and cool stuff like that. And of course, we will talk a little bit about the use case, about the business side, especially when it's a first time call. Yeah.
So are you predominantly staying in the Copilot chat experience using things like pages and things like that? Or do you do any of the broader M365 Copilot stuff like Word, Excel, where it pops up in those PowerPoint, those type of applications?
Depending on how much time is given for the workshop. Yeah. So of course, usually beside the first touch workshop, if someone says, yeah, we have like a big thing with Excel, then of course I pull the Excel up and I show them a little bit about that Copilot. And but so for the first touch, we usually just go roughly over it. But then, of course, when we get involved into projects where we have the task to board our champions onto the tool into Copilot and get more details on that. Of course, then we definitely go a little bit over all these nice tools and all the I for example, I really like to show Forms Copilot because it's incredibly fast, incredibly effective. And so that's usually a Copilot that is often overseen, but what I always show in my demos.
You talked about the Wave 2 release, and I now have when I open my browser, I have Copilot as my homepage, just waiting for the drop, right, of Wave 2, because I feel like it's a big change, that's coming with the navigation structure, the new features, the agents, the notebooks. What feature are you particularly most excited about, and what's coming?
For what I'm personally most hyped about as someone who is holding a Copilot license is definitely the new Create experience when we get those GPT-4o image generation. Because,
That's good. That's good. One of the things, as a power user, are there any kind of prompts that you run to understand the version, the back end, etc.? One of my things that I think about is if I'm using ChatGPT, I know what an O3 model does. I know what the 4 or the 4.5 model of deep research does. And I choose based on what I'm going to do. One of the limitations I find, and of course, Copilot's designed for everybody rather than just the power user, but is I find it slightly limiting in that I want to know, hey, what is the version that's underpinning what I am doing?
You're missing the Pro switch or the advanced configuration switch.
Yeah, I know what I'm doing switch. Don't take the kitty gloves off. I'm okay. I know what I'm doing.
That's an interesting part, to be honest. And I love this discussion because I had it with Microsoft in Redmond. So that's this was definitely probably the biggest honor currently in my professional career, that I was invited to the MVP Summit to come to the Microsoft campus this year. And the discussions that we had with Microsoft were really interesting, and we were discussing exactly that. And there are a few things, and to be honest, I can't decide for myself if I want to go your way, because I love your way and I love how you think about that, because that's what we as professionals or pro users like to do. And but what we also discussed is just maybe for a week, make a little bit fun of it and implement such a switch. And just let the switch do absolutely nothing. And I would bet that people start, I get the best response, but you need to set the switch on 4 or something like that, you know? You need to set the switch on this level, for example. And I mean, the discussion that we're having here, yes, it would be great to have such a switch or to have like a configuration. But the audience that is targeted to is probably smaller than the audience that it probably would make it worse. So people think they know what they're doing often and say, yeah, of course I'm using that model because I want to do this stuff. No, man, you don't need a deep research model to find an error in your, 50-line type of code. You don't need the deep research there. But if you're using it, you're just, I would say, wasting resources. And yeah, that's of course something that we don't want to do. But as I said, I understand it. I can't decide. And I would think a few people, like maybe you and myself, would profit from it. But I think it would also cause confusion all the way. Yeah, we maybe need the admin control for that.
So the other little furball that I run into is RAI over interference. So I'll give you 2 examples. One is, I asked it the other day to create a list of companies based on a certain parameter in a specific country. It did that no problem. It based on an industry that I was targeting. I then said, give me the company websites, and and it goes and puts it into loop or pages, to work on. All the URLs went in there, and then about 2 seconds later, it redacted out all the URLs and said, to protect your privacy, we've removed the links. I'm like, I asked you. Yeah?
Before you go with your second example, also that we have addressed, and it's going to be fixed by tomorrow probably. So when this podcast came out, Microsoft has implemented a new configuration where from now on, every link you click that is coming from Copilot gets redirected to Windows Defender safe links. And it checks it. So those links that are going to external and were removed earlier will not be removed. They will be directed via the safe link service. So that's actually up that it will ship, or that is shipped on the day that people are hearing this episode.
Yeah. Awesome. The other one is this. So let's say I do a sales call with a customer and I've got transcription on. They're happy for it to be on. We get the summary of it and Teams and all that kind of thing. At the end of the call, I'm wanting to do a retrospective on my ability as a salesperson. So I use this type of prompt. I say, what I'd like you to do is assess, this call. And I want you to act as an expert sales coach and show me what I could have done better. Guess what its response is?
Yes, I know what the response is.
I can't make those recommendations to you.
Probably the exact phrase that I would prefer not to continue this conversation at this point. I think that what is Microsoft doing, and that's also a thing that I pointed out. And Microsoft, I can tell they're aware of that, but it's pretty hard to really, program it into the tool or program it into the responsible AI engine or check that is done to really decide, is he trying to ask for himself or is he trying to ask for another, because that's a fear.
I was on the call, my license matches the team's license, or they've got all that stitching there.
Yeah. That's right. Yeah, for sure. But, people get quite, I would say, creative when it's coming to prompting. So they're trying to...
So, in that scenario, what do? I export the transcript, take it into ChatGPT, please analyze, which that's bad because what it's doing, it's making me take my data outside of my tenant, the whole why, the Microsoft environment is a safe and secure and the data boundaries are honored, within your tenant. And it and any Joe Blogs that's going to want to get that type of outcome is going to want to do that. Because I think that feature for a sales team, when I started my career 30 odd years ago in IT, and I went in and I would implement CRMs for contact centers, right? And they used to have like these kind of headphones, and so the manager would sit down and they would plug into the same cable as the other contact center person, and they would listen to the conversation as they were having it. And then after the call, they would go, "I would recommend you do this. You should have done that there," that type of thing. And I'm like, in the age of AI, I could get the foremost guru in the world on how to do a good sales call, name any kind of author out there in the space and say, use that methodology, spin selling as an example I know of. You apply that to what I did and coach me on how I could do it better next time. I think, man, that's massively advantageous.
Yeah. So, 3 points on that. First of all, I have a session or like a keynote where I show like my top 10 use cases. And actually, there are screenshots in there from exactly that prompts working from probably a year ago. So that was stuff that was working and what Microsoft needed to remove after customers' feedback, because but of course not in the context about themselves, about we don't want Copilot to let people analyze others. And with that feedback, it also killed the analyze for myself thing. So, and currently, they're working on it to, of course, getting the feedback for myself back, but not getting, doing that type of analysis on myself. Even if I would say, like, motivation is good and positive, some people really can use it for a negative thing on colleagues or on, some people that work for them. That's the first thing. And the second thing is probably, you can do this. You don't need to go outside the M365 world. You can definitely do that with an agent. But I'll be honest with you, that's also like only a pro scenario. No usual user can do that. So this, again, it's just like a technology thing. But yeah, that what is currently built into responsible AI. Microsoft is working on that. And that's the third point. I would say maybe we wait a few months and then this will be hopefully working in this case again.
What's it? You talked about a keynote there in your top 10 use cases. Give me your top 3.
Let me do like maybe my best use case that I have in mind, because it's a very German use case. And, I always start with like, imagine you are in a really old German factory. So like, with all the steel machines and stuff. And, currently it's very hard to find new experts. It's hard to find people doing the job. And especially when we have like this language barrier in Germany sometimes. So what we did with a customer, they had like this old machinery where they only had books for operations manual that were in German. So we were able to get a German version as PDF from the manufacturer. And what we did with that was really incredible. We had like 1 or 2 people left who were really experts in that machine. And we grabbed them for a few workshops. And they really explained us how they need the manuals when finding errors and all that stuff. And we put that knowledge and the instruction they gave us at first in an agent. And we just trained it to be multilingual. So we had like a point of contact. And they would just type in the error code and they would get, first of all, like explanation. And then also, as you said, like a link or a source where they can hop into the manual to get of it. That was the first part, but we did not stop there. We go into Copilot and, for example, generated video scripts to show people the most important things that were also, of course, we then again talked with those experts and say, hey, what are the important things when someone is new at this machine? What do they need to know? And they just gave us some bullet points. We gave it to the AI and said, hey, make a real nice video script about that topics and about how to use that machine. And he just created that script and we did a podcast version of it just for, in a notebook LM style. Yeah. So people can listen to it. Then we put those information into Microsoft Forms, and people need to take a quiz after they have listened to that in some form. We also get like handouts, all AI generated. And the thing is, we have like different machines at every location. So then we gave those processes and all the prompts to the customer, and they were able to do it multiple times for multiple machines. And those agents have by far the largest activity on the whole company. And that's really, it's a more complex use case, but it was all to be done without Copilot Studio. It was all done within Copilot and Copilot agents. And yeah, it was a really nice, very, I would say, German handcrafted use case, but I really like that one.
I love it. Daniel, we're already 5 minutes over time. You're one of my longest guests on the show. I could talk to you for hours.
Sorry for that.
No problem. Thank you so much for coming on the show. I've really enjoyed it.
Thanks, Mark, for having me. Wish you a great day. And for everyone listening, thanks for staying so long, 5 minutes longer. I hope you enjoyed this.
Hey, thanks for listening. I'm your host, Business Application MVP Mark Smith, otherwise known as the NZ365 Guy. If you like the show and want to be a supporter, check out buymeacoffee.com/NZ365 Guy. Thanks again, and see you next time.
Are you ready to accelerate your career in the Microsoft ecosystem? The 90-Day Mentoring Challenge, created by Mark Smith, is your opportunity to create a personalized pathway to success. Join over 1,200 alumni from more than 70 countries who have achieved remarkable results, from promotions to new job opportunities. Take it from Nathan, who said, "Since completing the 90-Day Mentoring Challenge, I've become an MVP in business applications and doubled my income." Or from Parves, who shares, "I've never felt as inspired or energized about my career as I do now." Sign up at arcor.nz365guide.com. You can find the link in the show notes. And if you use the code podcast, you'll get 10% off.